dirty today. I'm sure. 35 is big, I think 42 is good. I am take Mr. Muscle.
Today we're going to talk about the sensation that literally set the internet on fire 2 years ago, and the least we can say is that he did it in a pretty unusual way. This guy's name is Anatoly, and his channel racks up millions upon millions of views per video. The type of video that made him famous, and that you've probably already come across, consists of disguising himself as a janitor and going into gyms. What he does is walk up to the biggest guys in the gym and ask if he can clean around them. And the guy plays his role incredibly well, in his attitude, but also physically. At no point would you think that this guy isn't actually a janitor. Then comes the twist. After a while, he asks the guys if he can move their barbell so he can clean. Naturally, they get worried and tell him, "No, be careful, it's really heavy, you're going to hurt yourself." And indeed, we're talking about barbells that can reach 200 kilograms. Except then plot twist, the guy lifts the bar effortlessly with one arm. I remind you that we're talking about a weight that even guys weighing 140 kilograms struggle to lift. Of course, everyone is shocked. The guy who was lifting the weight can't understand what's happening. What especially caught people's attention was his physique. He's often described as someone who doesn't look like much, and that's a bit misleading. Okay, he's not built like a tank, but he is muscular. He has a very athletic physique. You can clearly tell he's someone who trains. But it's true that if you put him side by side with this guy, or that guy, you immediately notice a difference. So how can we explain this? How is it possible that this guy can effortlessly move weights that men twice his body weight struggle to lift? Well, quite simply because there's something very few people know. Developing strength is a specific type of training. Basically, a lot of people automatically associate size with strength, even though the two develop differently. In fact, they're practically two different sports. The sport focused on developing muscle size is bodybuilding, while the sport focused on developing strength is powerlifting. And the two evolve differently. Training specifically to increase muscle mass is not the same as training specifically to increase strength. When you really look into it, you realize that quite often the strongest people don't necessarily have the biggest physiques. For example, there are plenty of strength champions who, if you pass them on the street, you wouldn't even guess they go to the gym either because they're very slim, or on the contrary because they have a belly. So an important question to ask yourself is always, what sport do you actually want to pursue? Is your priority to build muscle size or strength? Of course, the two go together to a certain extent. Building muscle mass will increase your strength, and building strength will also contribute to muscle growth, especially if you're a beginner starting from zero training experience. Your muscles will naturally adapt in both cases. But the more advanced you become, the more you'll reach a level where, if you really want to achieve the highest possible level in one or the other, you'll have to specialize. Of course, you can also choose to develop both simultaneously. But what I'm saying here is that, if you want to go as far as possible, for example, if tomorrow you decided you wanted to compete in bodybuilding, then you must be ready not to reach your full potential in terms of strength. And conversely, if you decide you want to compete in powerlifting, then you must accept not reaching your full potential in terms of muscle mass. That's why many people whose goal is to build muscle size end up plateauing. When you look at their training, you realize they train like someone trying to build strength, meaning very short, very heavy sets. In short, strength is a sport in its own right. It's a separate discipline. Another reason why it's difficult to judge someone's strength just by looking at them is that many athletes don't look particularly impressive at first glance, yet they could run circles around guys who weigh 1.5 times more than they do. So, in conclusion, it's important to ask yourself what your goal is. You can either choose to be good at both, or become excellent in one or the other. In the end, Anatoly perfectly illustrates the difference between appearance and actual strength. Even though he doesn't have the biggest physique in the gym, his years of specialized strength training allow him to outperform much larger people. His videos remind us that muscle size and strength are connected, but they are not the same thing, and true power often comes from specific training, technique, and experience rather than just looking massive.